Today, we're going to move on to our next type of nominal. Remember, the whole purpose of Unit 7 is to realize that nouns are just one option that you have, and that there are other options that do the same job that a noun does, or fits the same position or slot that a noun fits in. So the next one we're going to take a look at is what we call the gerund and the gerund phrase. So hopefully you have your gerund phrase note sheet in front of you. You're going to follow along with me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through some notes really quickly, and then take on one example diagram on this video, and then I'll show you the other two diagrams on two other short videos. Okay, so as we look here, our notes tell us that a gerund is a verb that's actually being used as a noun. We call this a verbal, V-E-R-B-A-L, and there are three verbals in the English language. And verbal basically means it's a verb doing the job of something else. Let me rephrase that. It's the verb doing a job of a different part of speech. So in this case, the verb is doing the job of a noun. So a gerund is a form of a verb that's used as a noun. So we call it a verbal, and it's also referred to as a nominal because it's doing a noun job. And a gerund is both part noun and also part verb. What's most important is the fact that at the very end is that note here in my third bullet that it ends in ing. So now we're going to be we're almost hyper focusing on ing words, which are actually not doing the verb job. They're actually sitting in a noun position. Let me show you what I mean. So if I said, we enjoy swing dancing. Well, first off, we have to recognize that enjoy swing dancing is not the whole verb. One of the reasons that we learned the verb expansion rule is it would tell us that that is not the whole verb, enjoy swing dancing, because you could not create enjoy swing dancing as a verb string. And so therefore, I realized that enjoy is the verb, and swing dancing is actually its direct object. But it's a direct object that ends in ing, and we call that now a gerund because it's at the heart of it, it's the verb to dance, but it's actually doing a noun's job. Another example, cleaning is my least favorite weekend chore. Or if I asked you what the subject of that sentence would be, you'd say the subject is cleaning. But at the heart of it is the verb to clean. So it sounds like a verb, but it's doing a noun's job. We call this a gerund. Now, sometimes you can take a gerund and you can actually expand it into what we call a gerund phrase. So to build on those other two examples, I could say, we enjoy swing dancing with our youth group. So I can take that gerund and I can add other parts to it, in this case, a prepositional phrase. I can say, cleaning my bedroom is my least favorite weekend chore. If I asked you what the subject was, now it's no longer cleaning, it's cleaning my bedroom. So collectively, those three words all now become the subject of the sentence, and therefore that's a gerund phrase. So in this first one, if I see if I can get my pen to work here for everybody, I'm going to use white. Up here, this becomes my direct object because I'm saying we, subject, action verb, enjoy, and your direct object is this entire structure. Down here, if I said, what's your subject? You would say, well, this whole thing becomes my subject. This is the subject of is. Like, what is your least favorite chore? The act, not just of cleaning, but cleaning my bedroom. And this is the use of what we call a gerund phrase. A phrase is not a full sentence. And those things in yellow could not stand by themselves. Cleaning my bedroom is not a sentence. Swing dancing with our youth group is not a sentence. So a phrase is not a full sentence. But when I combine it with all the other parts, it becomes a sentence. What I have to do is I have to train myself to see those parts in yellows as working collectively. So now, when I realize that they're all working collectively as one big nominal slot, one big direct object in the first example, or one big subject, now I realize, okay, that is all one big structure, and that leads us to having to put these guys up on trees. So we visually see them in a diagram. We're going to see they're going to have to fit perfectly up on a tree. Let me show you what I mean. So let's take this first example, which says, unfortunately, sleeping is not an acceptable major in college, which would have been great for my freshman year roommate because he was amazing at sleeping, but unfortunately it's not an acceptable major in most colleges, I assume. Now, first thing I'm going to look for are an ing. So here's this ing, which is my ing sleeping, which is a gerund. And then once I find that gerund, I have to kind of say, okay, what's it doing in the sentence? Well, outside of this, it seems to be serving as the subject. So the main verb is, but the subject is sleeping. Let's diagram this one. So I'm going to change screens on you here, everybody. No, I don't want to keep my ink annotations. Let's get rid of those, but let's go to this screen here and see if I can build a diagram. I want you to do the same thing with me. Follow along on your worksheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a structure somewhere in the middle of that white space that you have. I'm going to put mine right here. And what I want to do is I love anchoring to my verb. My verb is. It's not sleeping, but it is. All right, so there's my verb. And the to be verb should have either an adjective or a noun or something that tells me time or place. This one has a noun, has major. So I'm going to put a slanted line and I'm going to put the word major right here. I got to tell you, it's 1:20 in the afternoon, and my handwriting's looking amazing. So there you go. The word not is not part of my verb. We know that from our last unit that the word not is not part of a verb string, so it cannot be included in my verb. So I'm going to put it down here. I'm going to say it's an major. I know that sounds really weird, but we write it just how it's written, and then acceptable. That line I drew right there was not very acceptable. Huh, that's funny. Anyway, so there you go. And then it's a major in college. Let's extend this line here. I'm going to do in college. Now, the word unfortunately really isn't going to go where I'm going to put it, but for now, that's where we're going to put it. So I'm going to put it here as an adverb underneath is. It reminds me a lot when I was in geometry. And I remember in geometry that there were many times, did I even spell that right? I wrote unfortunately. I'm not an intelligent man. Let's get rid of that. Anyway, so focused on talking about geometry. So I just remember in geometry, that is an N. I'm not sure what letter that is. That there were many times when we were doing proofs, and I knew I wanted to use something in my proof, but I had not I didn't have it like actually proven as an axiom or a theorem or anything yet, and so I couldn't use it. And so same thing happens sometimes in grammar. Like when we get to our 6th unit, we'll do something different with the word unfortunately. But for right now, this is what we know, so we're going to treat it like it's an adverb. All right, long story to a question that no one really asks. So there you go. So lastly is the word sleeping. So I'm going to put the word sleeping incorrectly in my diagram. So don't do what I do. I wonder if I can get my pen to show up somewhere. Oh, there you are, buddy. So I'm going to put them up here. I'll put them in my favorite. Oh, no, I'm going to put them over here in whatever this is. So I'm going to put sleeping right here. Now, this would be how we would do it previous to today. Previous today, we would treat this as a subject. We put the word sleeping right there. Ta-da! But we have to realize that sleeping is not a noun, and a noun goes on a flat line. But this is not a noun. It's the subject, but it's not a noun, because they're different. What it is a gerund, and a gerund is part noun, which is on a flat line. It's also part verb, which is on a flat line. Notice that sleeping's on a flat line as a noun. Major's on a flat line, college is on a flat line, so is. So in diagramming, nouns are on flat lines, verbs are on flat lines. But I want to show that it's part noun and part verb. So when we build a gerund's going to be part noun, it's going to be part verb, and so it's going to kind of have a step. It's a nice 90-degree hard step like this. I think it looks like an Egyptian arm, so I'll oftentimes refer to it as an Egyptian arm. So let's see if I can get rid of this thing that I drew up here. So long. Really? Because you're not there. There you go. He's going. Racer, you're really slow. Sorry, everybody. All right. So what I have to do, I have 2 choices. Now, I have to make it look like an Egyptian arm. So one choice you can do, when I'm building a gerund all by itself, I'm okay with just simply directly stepping my line like this. All right. So therefore, the word sleeping can sit right like that. I'll show you a variation of this here in a little bit, but let's go with this one here. And therefore, I'm going to put the word sleeping. Now, the thing is, it's part noun, part verb. So the gerund has to cascade over and touch both sides. So I start with the word sleeping, or the letter S, and it just kind of cascades down, and it has to touch both sides, because this up here is the noun side, and that is the verb side. It's very critical that we realize this is the noun side, this is the verb side, and the gerund cascades over the line. And that's what it looks like, a little Egyptian arm. And that's our way of letting us know this is still the subject, but it's a gerund. It's not a noun. Okay, I'm going to pause. I'm going to do a different video as we take a look at number 2. Longest ending to a video ever.